Hello to all you parents out there. I hope that you're having an excellent day. This video is about how to teach your child a language at home that you may or may not speak. Whether you're a homeschool parent or you're unhappy with the language classes that your kids have at school or they don't have good language classes at school, you're in the right place. This video is going to cover actionable steps that you can do starting today to start learning a language with your child. A bit of a quick disclaimer, I'm not a parent, I don't have any children. But most of this has been developed by the lovely Bree, who writes our emails, blog posts, and stuff like that. She has been doing this with her daughter for over a year to great success, and we've been working together on creating a digestible email course that you can get in the description below. I'm just the person that's on camera presenting the information that we've come up together with learnings from our team and her experience with her daughter. She's very passionate about this whole topic, and the emails that she's written are way better than this video can ever really be, so I definitely recommend that you go and get them in the description below. Plus, they come with some free downloadable workbooks that you can use with your child. And so, without further ado, let's talk about how a child learns language. It's pretty clear that language classes in school just don't work. Teaching grammar conjugations, drills, and weird vocabulary lists just isn't a way to fluency. Plus, most kids end up hating their language classes and barely getting a passing grade. And the ones that are successful are able to say some animal names and count to 10. That's not really what we're trying to go for here. What we need is to kind of mimic the way that your child learned their first language. They didn't need any conjugation charts or to be explicitly taught grammar rules in order to speak and make their ideas understood, but most importantly, to understand. They did this by understanding the world around them, by asking questions, and essentially living in the language. Now, you're not going to be able to just turn your entire household into Spanish or French. That just doesn't make any sense. So we're going to use something that almost all kids are hooked on these days. Media, like TV shows, books, things like that. Things that kids like. I know, you might be thinking, screen time? They don't need more screen time. And that might be true, but this is at least for a good purpose, and we can reutilize some screen time they already have. Now, this might seem a little bit counterintuitive. How does something fun like watching TV lead to fluency? Don't you have to study to get good? But not really, especially in the case of kids. Our brains are really good at absorbing stuff and learning patterns and mimicking what we hear. Like I said, you didn't teach your kid their native language explicitly, you sort of just help them to understand things, help them find the patterns, and correcting anything that's weird. But you can't just plop them on the couch, put on a movie in German, and expect them to learn literally anything. There are things that you're going to do to help them to build up understanding in this new language. There are plenty of different techniques for this, but I'm only going to cover a few in this video, so really make sure you check out the email link in the description. But all the different techniques kind of boil down to the same idea. Pre-learning information so that you can learn it from immersion. The most obvious example is to pre-learn some words. You work with your child to learn a couple of words, and then they're watching TV and they see and hear those words and actually understand something. Notice that I said pre-learn for those words, because we as humans don't learn words really until we've experienced them a lot of different times in contexts that make sense and that we understand. You might have noticed this when your child repeats potentially a swear word over and over again without actually knowing what it is or what it means. They kind of just heard it and stuck with it. But that doesn't mean that they know it yet. Then once you've pre-learned some words, we have a little thing that we call the noticing game, where they look out for words in the thing that they're using. You can also think about it as being a word detective. You're looking for clues that help you to understand and writing those down in your notebook, which is the free download booklet that you get in the link below. As your child is finding these new words and looking up definitions and making clues for themselves to remember what they mean, that's what creates the process of really learning and understanding more of the language. These workbooks might look pretty simple, but they're very powerful. After a few weeks of learning them, your child can remember up to 95% of the words because they're not studying for a test. They're understanding the words and creating experiences out of them. Okay, so that's a lot about what you're going to be doing with your child, but what about the stuff that you're not doing? You're not going to be doing any grammar drills, no weird themed vocab lists, and no speaking. All of these things have their place, but not on day one and not at the beginning. Grammar drills have shown again and again that they're not actually helpful for learning to understand the language. Your child will pick that up as they understand the messages that use grammar to encode things. More about that in the emails. Themed vocab lists also aren't very helpful because they're not relevant to what your child is doing. Learning the word for armadillo might be kind of cute, but if that animal doesn't show up in the show that they're watching, it's just useless information. And lastly, no speaking. Not because it's anything bad, but it's just not a really good use of time. your child isn't going to be able to produce any language that has any sense at all, and that's fine. That is the process of learning the language. Speaking is seen as the pinnacle of language learning progress because it's the most obvious, but it's really just the most performative. After your child has a lot of exposure to the language and is understanding things, words will come to them and they'll be able to say things and point things out and actually create experiences in the language that are real for them rather than just copying a song that a teacher is singing to them that they have no idea what's going on. Plus, it's also way less frustrating for them if they're trying to say something and just literally can't. Focusing on the stuff that's more useful and engaging now is going to create much better progress in the long term. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I could go on and on and on about language learning basically all day, but you don't want to hear that. But like I said, the emails are just more streamlined for this purpose. Plus, you'll be hearing it directly from Bree instead of little old me. Have I mentioned the emails yet? I think I have. Maybe I should mention them one more time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and maybe send it to another one of your parent friends. And also, leave a comment down below. What language do you want to do this with your child? Or are you already teaching them a language? How's it going? We'd love to hear your responses. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and as always, happy immersing. I'm here to drop some knowledge, listen up with your ears. I got a language learning method, gonna make it crystal clear. I do have a bit of, wow. Suéltalo.